Hey yo folks! Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at another LEGO set. Today we're going to be looking at a LEGO DC set. This set is LEGO set number 76274, Batman with the Batmobile versus Harley Quinn and Mr. Freeze. This set released in 2024 with 435 pieces, 3 cool minifigures, all for the staggering price of $60. I gotta say right off the bat, the title, Batman with the Batmobile, is just, it's just, something about it is just funny. I mean, the title itself as a whole is a mouthful. And for some reason, I almost keep saying Two-Face instead of Mr. Freeze. Which, honestly, I think we should get an animated series Two-Face, which, hopefully we get that in the distant future. But either way, this is a pretty cool Batmobile set, and today we're going to all take a look at this really cool Batmobile together. So, why don't we cut the chit-chat and get straight to it. As you can see, the set does consist of both a Batmobile as well as a little display stand. Unfortunately, there's no other side builds or anything like that aside from the minifigures, but that's okay. But for now, let's focus on the main attraction, the Batmobile. Which, I gotta say, it's really nicely built. I do like the dark blue color scheme, even though a lot of people, including myself, mostly recognize Batman for having his vehicles, such as the Batwing and all that, and the Batmobile, of course, have a more black color scheme, and sometimes very, very dark gray, if you get the reference, of course. But still, it's really nicely built. I do like how it's smooth in some areas, although there are some studded parts like here. I do like the little ridges. There are 2 holes on the side, like one here and one here, but that's for a little feature. And yes, this set unfortunately does have some stickers, like on the front as well as in the driver's seat, but we will get to that, which you can see the wheels are the usual classic wheel, just pretty nice. Looking on the bottom of the vehicle, it's pretty tame and simple, nothing too special, although you can see some gears which tie into a little feature of the Batmobile. Which, let's actually take a look at the back, where you can just see the back with the Batwing type look on the back, which is, it's really well done. You also see that the little thruster's got a little flame in there, which you could take it out if you want, but it does tie into another feature that this set has, and you can see there's some lights. Thankfully, those aren't stickered. Before we get to our feature, let's take a look at the driver's seat. Yeah, which, as you can see, the window could just easily open up like so. Kind of like most of the Batmobiles, like the very, very first Batmobile LEGO set, which, let me actually take these pieces out real quick so that way you can get a better look. And like I said, unfortunately there are stickers in the driver's seat. You could see all the controls are stickered, you could see like the panels. You can see they got a little steering wheel type build, although it's more so levers, which they basically use the bucket handle piece for that, which... The seat is very interesting because it doesn't really look like a seat, and unfortunately you do get a pretty ugly look at the gears, which should be sealed off, but on one hand it is pretty bad, but on the other hand it's pretty big, just so that way it's able to support Batman, who's pretty unique in this set. Let me actually show you how that works out. Let me get him in position. Gotta be very, so there you go. Yeah, he's in the vehicle nice and well. He fits perfectly fine. Although, like I said, I feel like maybe there could have been a bit of a better way to make it so that way the gears aren't showing, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to see the gears from looking at there. Oops, let me actually take these pieces back on so that way it looks a little bit better. There you go. There you go. It looks a lot better. The Batman is good to go in his Batmobile, and whilst we're at it, let's show a little feature. You see the gears at the bottom and how they kind of intertwine with the thruster? Yeah. If you drive it, it actually goes like so. You could just see that flame moving. Look at that. That's just really cool. I love it when sets do that. It's like a really cool feature. Although I do kind of wish maybe there was a little bit more uniqueness in play features with the set. I do think it's still really nice as is. But we do got another play feature, as you can see. You seen the holes on the front, right? Didn't you? Well, that's because it's able to support weaponry. You got some shooters right here. Or guns, or blasters, whatever you want to call them. Still, of course, they do have the stud shooters, which would obviously shoot studs. And one thing I want to point out right now, and which I failed to do in most of my videos that do contain stud shooters, the set does contain extra stud shooters. The reason why I don't show it's because usually I put them away in my extra pieces bin and such. Since usually most sets don't have like a little thing where you could store the studs for your stud shooters. But as the video goes, one for the viewer, I'm gonna have to look for that, and one for me. At least I saw where that went. Yeah, really nice feature. Again, before we get to the little display, I gotta say the building of this set is just really nice. I do love how it's built. Again, pardon all the dust and such. It's just, I know I keep repeating myself, but it's just really nicely built. I mean, I do kind of wish maybe it was black, but at the same time, a lot of times I see this done in a blue color scheme, which is just really nicely done. Although I do feel like that $60 for this is just not it, even with the minifigures, which we will get to that. Still, this is just an incredible build. It's just probably one of the top 10, top 5. I don't know how many Batmobiles we got, but it's one of the top 5. I feel like this, as well as the OG Batmobile, are probably the best Batmobiles. I mean, there's probably some other Batmobiles, like I do feel like the Tim Burton Batmobile from the Batcave set, which I will build soon. I don't know if I'm going to review it on the channel yet, but I will build that soon, and the Batmobile and that set does look pretty cool, but I have yet to build it, but we'll see. But anyways, let's look at the display stand, which does have a little feature of its own, actually. Yeah, you can see this little dish here, which it does actually spin in case you want to maybe display it, although it is a little bit awkward, because most times it would likely be put right here, which is a little odd, but still. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe there's a right way. I'll have to look it up, but yeah, you can see the Batmobile can spin. That way you can have it displayed as well as showing the little logo, which, let's actually take a better look at that. One thing I kind of don't like about it is how this is on here, the little ramp. Yes, this is a ramp piece. I do wish this was done in a better way, so that way the ramp would be more supported, because oftentimes this just falls off pretty easily. I mean, it's not like super easy, but it's pretty easy to come off. But let's take a closer look. And yes, unfortunately it is a sticker, but it's a pretty nice sticker. You got the Batman the Animated Series logo as well as Batman on there, which is real cool. It just shows the Batmobile, which shows the length, oops, let me show you that so it's closer. You can see that's got the logo and such on it. You got the Batmobile with the length, the width, the acceleration, max speed, and the fuel and the engine. It just shows you all the details, kind of like a UCS set, which is just really awesome detailing at it, and I just really like it. But let me show you the set displayed once again before we move on to the figures. Yeah, I don't know what else could be said about this set. This is just a really cool Batmobile set, and I do hope that maybe in the future we get more Batman the Animated Series based sets, because it would be nice to get some more sets, especially based off the Batcave, or perhaps the Batwing, or even Arkham Asylum. Even though they released a new Arkham Asylum based set, and I don't think they're going to make a Batman the Animated Series based Arkham Asylum set anytime soon, but who knows? Still, this is just a really nice Batmobile build, and I just hope we get more Batman the Animated Series based sets of minifigures, because honestly, I do feel like a cool minifigure to get would be Two-Face. I would really love that Two-Face. Especially if they use the hairpiece, which is basically like the original Two-Face, which was also used for the DC Superheroes Two-Face, or I believe the year was 2012, but still. It would be really nice to get all those figures, or perhaps a updated Joker to have a more accurate hairpiece, kind of like how he did in the Lego DC Villains line. But anyways, yeah, I think this is just a really cool set overall. I love how it's built. It's just nice and smooth. I mean, you do got some studs here and there, but still, I don't think it harms the set in any way. Although, if you ask me, I do feel like maybe there should have been an extra build or an extra minifigure, but we'll get to that in the outro. But speaking of minifigures, let's get to them, because I think the figures are pretty interesting, so let's get to those figures, shall we? For the first of our minifigures, we of course have the main man himself, Batman. Which, from what I can tell, this is just about the same version that we got in the Gotham City skyline, with the exception of his cape, which we will get to that. Which, I gotta say, this is my first time having the newer molded cowl on hand, which initially I hated the way it looked on photos and all that, which I still kind of don't like it as much as the originals, but in person, it's a lot better. It's almost like the original, albeit this time the eyes are molded in rather than being printed on a head, because normally the Batman headpieces would have like a white line on the top of the head for the eyes, because the cowls would have a hole. Which this time, the headpiece underneath doesn't need to have those white lines. However, with the use of this molded cowl, allows LEGO to have an excuse to do something that I really do not like them doing. Which we're gonna get to that right now. Let's take off the helmet, and you'd think we'd get a buff, muscular looking man for the man underneath, but instead we got Draco Malfoy, or Kazuda from Star Wars, or Shang-Chi from Marvel. Yes, this face. This face right here. I feel this face does not fit at all with Batman, or Bruce Wayne for that matter. And I really do not like that they did it. I mean, it's one thing that they kind of reused that one face in the mid-2006, 2008, but that was completely different. That was when that's when heads being reused wasn't so lazy like it is now. I just feel like this face does not fit him at all, and I just don't like how LEGO's using the excuse of the molded cowl to give him this lame face. But aside from that, the details on the minifigure are real nice. You can see he has that newer molded cape, which I do like how it does have the points at the bottom of the cape, kind of like to go with the, kind of like how the original Batman capes did, which is real nice. Unfortunately, unlike the cape that came in the Gotham skyline, there is no blue on the inside of the cape, which I kind of understand since these rubber capes are in its infancy, and I feel like it's only one color for now. I don't think they could do like more than one color. Dual molded capes, if you will. But it's still pretty cool. I know a lot of people don't like the rubber capes, and I prefer the traditional fabric capes, but at the moment I'm a bit neutral on the capes. I think they're okay, but at the same time I don't think LEGO should completely replace the fabric capes with the rubber capes, especially in certain cases. But I do love how his legs are dual molded, how it's the dark gray mixed with the black, which is just real nice. Let me actually take the cape off so you can get a better look at the back. Like I said before, he just has the Draco Malfoy face, which it's interesting how the most recent Harry Potter set involving Draco has reused this face, even though in the Room of Requirement they gave him a completely new face for him, only for them to go back. Like, what the heck? But this is not a LEGO Harry Potter set review. This is a LEGO DC Batman review. Which the back is real nice. You can see the detailing of his belt as well as his muscles, and you can just see the angry expression. Here's also a look at his alternative expression with the cowl on. I just figured I'd add that in since I initially didn't add that, and I figured it'd be worth adding, so there you go. I will say I find it weird how Batman doesn't have any accessories within this set. Whereas the other figures do have accessories, but for some reason he doesn't even have a single batarang. I remember back in the original Batman run in 2006, he'd have a boatload of accessories such as some handcuffs, some batarangs, as well as this one weird batarang that I don't even know how you would hold that. But aside from my few gripes, this is just a really amazing Batman minifigure. Whilst I do feel like maybe he should have had a little bit of coloring inside the cape, as well as he definitely should have had a better face print, I think this Batman minifigure is pretty good and not too bad. But anyways, I think it's time that we move on to some of the members of his Rogues Gallery. So why don't we take a look at our next two minifigures, starting now. And for our last two minifigures of the set, we have Mr. Freeze as well as Harley Quinn in her clown attire. Which, honestly, if you ask me, I kind of prefer her clown attire over most of her recent attires, but that's just me, and I'm used to her outfit since the 2008 Batman LEGO stuff. But both minifigures are real nice, although I do believe, aside from her hammer, Harley's basically the same as she was in the Skyline, which you can see both accessories is Mr. Freeze's pitiful freeze gun, as well as Harley's hammer, which is interesting how this uses the regular log piece, while the rest is like a nougat color. I do believe the color is nougat, though I'm just gonna call it a clay color just because it reminds me of clay. But you can see how some of the hammer is with the wood on the end, like a wood log, and it's a reddish brown, and the other is clay, which I find interesting, as well as how the handle is on the bottom rather on the top, but I guess I could see what they're going with. But on Mr. Freeze's weapon, I gotta say, it's pretty sad. It's just a simple handheld stud shooter, which of course would fire. Although I do gotta say that the stud color which is like a whitish blue. It's very uncommon, I feel, so that's nice to get that, but I just feel like they could have done something a little bit more unique, because I do feel like Mr. Freeze's torso and such is real nice. It's nice to get these, like, lilac hands, which is pretty rare, I would say, though I feel like Mr. Freeze definitely should have had some more detailing. I mean, maybe it's because of the way it is, but I feel like his helmet would look nicer if he had, like, a different type of... Like, if he had a shoulder piece, kind of similar to figures like Paz Vizsla or Wrecker, or even that one Ice Planet minifigure. Perhaps something like that could work well, but... And even then, I've seen people do something like that, as well as give the arms and legs of Sinestro from the DC CMF, which, by the way, I do think they should do another DC CMF. It would be nice to get some more unique and obscure characters. But as I was saying, I do feel like maybe Mr. Freeze could have had a little bit more detail. I will say I really do like his headpiece, although I'm pretty sure it's reused for another regular Mr. Freeze, though it just reminds me of the original Mr. Freeze from 2006, 2008, which it's surprising how much that minifigure is worth, seeing as if the only thing that's really unique about them is their head and their torso piece, as well as their helmet. Otherwise, it's just the plain blue minifigure. But even then, that minifigure had like a bigger and much cooler freeze gun compared to here. I feel like LEGO should have just gave them a more unique piece, even if it may not shoot studs. Just a little something small yet cool that works for Mr. Freeze. I feel like they could have added that. But anyways, another thing I feel, maybe this is because of the way I got it, but for some reason it just looks like the white on Harley's head and torso is more pinkish. Maybe it's the way they printed for this one. Maybe it's different for other copies, because it's a little weird how the printing is rough on this, but Harley Quinns of the past had better printing. Then again, to be fair, this is white on a different color as opposed to all white like the original Harley Quinn heads. But still, this is a really nice minifigure, which, let's actually go to the back so you can get a better look at their back printing, which, if you look closely, you can see there's some lines at the side of Mr. Freeze, which kind of show his, like, thin body, kind of like with Harley on the sides, which is real cool. You can see more of their back detailing, as well as the back of Mr. Freeze's head, which is just more of his goggles, which are cut off. I always found that a bit of an eyesore, but I imagine it's likely due to how LEGO prints their heads, and if you take off Harley Quinn's hat piece, you can see she's got a wide smile, which is just real nice, pretty much fitting of her character. Yeah. But yeah, these are some real nice minifigures, although I do feel like Mr. Freeze could have had a little bit more done with him, and I feel like this set should have had more minifigures, whether it be good guys or bad guys. I will get more to this in the end, but still, I do hope we get more of the Batman the Animated Series sets, so that way we get more of minifigures based off the show. But I'm getting a little off topic. I just think these are some really nice minifigures, though I feel like maybe there just could have been a little bit of something more unique or done better with them. But anyways, I think it's time to cut the chit-chat and get straight to the outro, so why don't we do that right now? So, get ready, and let's go! Fun fact, this is my second reshoot of the outro, because for some reason the original recording turned out to be completely muted with no voice. So that's real fun. But anyways, I just think this is a really nice Batmobile set and a really nice DC set in general, which I do hope we get more DC sets in the future, and I severely hope that A, they're Batman the Animated Series based sets, as well as B, it's not just Batman. We do need some more DC sets that are not just Batman. Like, they just made a new Superman movie, which I hear really slaps. There's definitely some good opportunity there. And honestly, I would really like some Green Lantern-based sets with all the Lantern Corps. I would really like a Red Lantern-based sets, which that would be pretty cool. But that's completely irrelevant to this video. But I do think this set is really nice. I do love how it's built. The minifigures are pretty good, though I feel like they could be better in some ways or forms. Though I feel like the $60 price point is just not it. I feel like the set could either be a lot cheaper, or LEGO could have just added a little bit more to justify the $60 price point. Whether it be adding another unique side build and or adding some more minifigures. I just feel like that would make the set not only a lot better, but also make the $60 price point a little bit more easier to take. As well as worth it, of course. But the set itself is worth it, but not for $60. I obviously would recommend getting this for a much cheaper price, so that way it's easier on your wallets and all that, but Aside from that, this is just a really nice Batmobile set and easily one of the top Batmobiles, and I don't think there's anything else I need to say about this. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment all that, because that really helps. And I will see you in the next one. Have a good one!